The rapid advancement and widespread implementation of AI, and in particular machine learning, has prompted a renewed emphasis on AI literacy. Until now, SIGCHI research has introduced multiple educational prototypes designed to help students understand and harness machine learning through diverse interaction modalities and activities. However, as we elaborate in the paper, researchers have revealed a need for more inquiry into adapting and integrating these prototypes within educational practices and infrastructures, and strategies and examples of sustaining their impact beyond the duration of the research project. In this paper, we investigate how a research product approach combined with participatory infrastructuring can sustain the impact of inventionist SIGCHI research on AI literacy in education. We conduct this investigation through the dissemination of an educational tool named mlmachine.org, designed for teaching machine learning concepts and practices through embodied exploratory activities. Doing so allows us to examine the adoption and integration of educational AI literacy tools and activities into teachers' practices and educational infrastructures. Research product as a concept is an extension and evolution of the research prototype to conduct inquiries into users' appropriation of a system or artifact over time. So it aims to enable long-term studies and appropriation by people into their everyday practices. By appropriation, we mean the remaking of something through a use that becomes personal, framed within our understanding of our situation and our anticipated future. Research products can be described with 4 qualities: inquiry-driven, finished, fit, and independent. Last year at Kjær, a new quality was proposed, the quality of scale. While the original qualities focus on ensuring longevity and authenticity of research product studies, the new quality focuses on how research product studies can scale to many users. mlmachine.org is an online web tool that enables students to build a machine learning model with accelerometer data collected with a microbit. It provides a graphical user interface that enables users to collect data, curate data samples, train a machine learning model on the data, and build small interactive systems where the model's output triggers an output by a microbit. mlmachine.org enables explorations of how embodied exploratory approaches to teaching AI literacy can be appropriated in classrooms and formal educational contexts. It had been developed into a fully functional educational tool prioritizing accessibility for both teachers and students, streamlining setup and initial ventures into creating the first machine learning model. It utilizes technologies that most Danish teachers already know of. It runs in the browser and requires no additional installations. And it uses a microbit, which has been distributed to most public schools in Denmark. To ensure stability, the web page is hosted by an external IT consultancy that we hire to guarantee that mlmachine.org is always accessible for the teachers who rely on it in their practice. mlmachine is designed to scale through a scalable software architecture and using technology and materials commonly available in classrooms. It is stateless from a server side, so it scales with low-cost servers. However, these qualities do not cover a significant contribution to mlmachine's success. The backstage design work with our strategic partners to integrate the system into existing educational infrastructures. To articulate this backstage work, we draw upon concepts and insights from participatory design and in particular participatory infrastructuring. Infrastructuring entails a shift from treating design systems as fixed products to treating them as ongoing infrastructures. Thus, perceiving a system, for example an educational tool, as a piece of infrastructure that combines and builds on top of existing technologies and enables people to use their technologies in new ways. Bilger et al. Describes how most design projects today are infrastructural projects that build on existing competences, technologies, and practices. Therefore, as argued by other researchers, to create sustainable outcomes in the schools, the focus must be broadened beyond primary users and front stage activities in classrooms to focus on structures and agreements across sectors and levels of authority. From the beginning of this project, our goal was to design a tool that could scale into multiple classrooms and be appropriated into teachers' practices. This challenge did, however, extend beyond our design and development capabilities, especially considering the difficulty of integrating our work into existing and well-established education networks and infrastructures. Therefore, we actively sought strategic partners while designing and developing what would become mlmachine.org. With an early prototype, we toured the country to discuss machine learning teaching with different stakeholders and possible partners in the Danish education environment. Using the prototype, we demonstrated the concept, enabling teachers and others to construct machine learning models. We ended up with two main partners, the Danish Broadcasting Corporation and the Microbit Educational Foundation. In the paper, you can read more about how these partnerships were established and play out. Here I will focus on the outcomes. Microbit Educational Foundation is a British non-profit organization that aims to inspire every child to create their best digital future. They have developed the microbit and produce and distribute educational content with the microbit. They host our open source codebase on the GitHub organization and have advised us in developing sustainable software for the microbit. Further, they have put us in contact with people from ARM and Microsoft Research who have contributed with code and inputs in the development of the tool. And they have demoed mlmachine.org at multiple venues and for different groups of people. For example, Code.org, Raspberry Pi Foundation, and BBC. The Danish Broadcasting Corporation, also called DR, is a national, publicly funded newscasting organization that aims to support the democracy, contribute to Danish culture, and strengthen the Danish community. In collaboration, we developed 4 learning units, a DR-branded version of mlmachine.org, and videos where a popular YouTube and television host explained machine learning. The units are published on DR's online platforms and promoted through the media channels. Counting only people who have accepted our cookie policy, the mlmachine.org page and the DR-branded version together have had more than 5,000 unique visitors, mainly from Denmark, USA and Hong Kong, but also many other countries. We cannot know why people have used the tool, but around half of the visits are sudden spikes from a specific region, indicating that the tool was used in a co-located context, for example, a classroom. Further, we have observed teachers and education consultants posting about it on social media and personal blogs, indicating a bottom-up engagement with the tool and material. This bottom-up engagement is also seen in how mlmachine.org is listed on different online resources of microbit tools. Last, we are continuously being contacted by educators and educational developers who find interest in the tool. In the paper, we account for both the long-term relationships with strategic partners and the adoption of mlmachine.org in teachers' practices. We provide an autoethnographic account of the collaborative processes behind mlmachine.org and interviews with partners from the Danish Broadcasting Corporation and the Microbit Educational Foundation. At the level of teachers and education consultants, we interviewed 3 teachers and 2 consultants who have all used mlmachine on their own initiative. You can read more about these backstage activities and the results from the interviews in the paper. Here we'll move on to the implications of the results. Researchers have called for a move from singular activities and demos to more holistic designs that include support, guidance, and flexibility for how AI technology concepts, and pedagogy play out in the classroom. mlmachine.org and the teaching materials designed in collaboration with the Danish Broadcasting Corporation accurately provide such support, guidance, and flexibility. The interviews demonstrate that teachers appropriated the tool and educational material into their practice. They replaced discussion points with current news stories, created whole new activities around the tool, and used it to introduce machine learning for colleagues. Further, we have seen how teachers have shared their experience with the tool and the material on social media and blogs, and have teamed up to explore how they can use mlmachine.org in their teaching. We did, however, also experience certain limitations with the research product approach. First, we had to simplify mlmachine.org a lot to create a low floor and provide the stability necessary for educators to appropriate it in a classroom. This also showed in the interviews, where teachers found it difficult to move beyond initial activities, often because they could not integrate the tool's limited functions into their continued activities. Second, we experienced a trade-off between the impact of research when working at scale and the possibilities for collecting data. In our studies, it is difficult to account for how educators have actually used mlmachine.org. These limitations align with limitations identified in earlier studies with research products. I will provide a few insights from infrastructuring a research product in education. First, system as a vehicle for establishing partnerships. We work through different research product qualities over time, starting with a prototype of mlmachine.org and shaping it into a research product. Thus, we made design decisions with a specific aim of engaging partners. Second, seeking partners who are allies of the greater project. The successful partnerships in this project were established with partners who turned into allies, partners that shared the same overall motives but have competences and resources different from ours, which helped turn mlmachine.org into a research product. Looking beyond the educational context, we argue that infrastructure should be regarded as a novel quality of a research product. With this study, we demonstrate how a research product can be designed into existing technological and organizational infrastructures to study how it is adopted into existing practices in these infrastructures. To highlight the novelty in considering infrastructure as a quality, I will compare it with two existing qualities that are most similar to infrastructure. If fit relates to how a research product is designed for its end users to appropriate infrastructure, then describes how well a research product integrates with the networks of organizations and technologies that are part of people's practice. The scale quality describes how a research product scales in numbers of products and users, whereas infrastructure describes how a product scales in numbers of types of actors, technologies, and different types of organization that it integrates with. In this paper, we demonstrate and discuss how mlmachine.org can be used for large-scale studies of teachers' appropriation over time. But we only provide preliminary findings to demonstrate the potential. We plan in the near future to present large-scale studies of how teachers have appropriated mlmachine.org in their educational practices. Besides this, we are continuously developing on mlmachine.org and creating new partnerships to disseminate it further. Microbit Educational Foundation has created a version of mlmachine.org for primary education that is used in a new educational material they developed in collaboration with BBC. Further, we used it in a study about upskilling workers in collaboration with trade unions. A paper about this project is presented here at Kjær.